We're preempting a great deal with the rhetoric, I think, Dan, because this weekend was pivotal in terms of inspections in Iran, and that is all about getting America back to the JCPOA and a deal on the table. Let's talk about the oil market first of all. The vaccine optimism seems to be the alpha in prices over Iran supply. Let's deal with the alpha on the vaccine first of all.
Yeah, man, you're seeing, especially in America, several states like New York are up at about a 50% vaccination rate, and more people are getting vaccinated every day. So you're seeing analysts from Goldman Sachs to Citi getting really bullish about demand there, and in other countries in the developed world. Summer, we saw what happened in China last year when they got the virus under control. Demand for oil products boomed, domestic tourism was high, and people are sort of laying that over some of these other economies, including the U.S., which is, again, the biggest oil consumer in the world. So, as long as OPEC stays steady with its discipline in reining in supply, they're seeing a real imbalance with a large deficit this summer as Americans hit the road and empty their gas tanks.
Dan, Manus mentioned it already, but Iran, with talks continuing, like with the IAEA getting this extension, how is the oil market viewing more supply of Iranian crude potentially coming back online?
Yeah, it's a really big question. There's a couple of factors in it. As I just mentioned, the OPEC keeping the supplies tight has been the main support for this oil market globally. We're still well below pre-COVID levels of demand. So any more supply coming on can be dangerous. So what the oil market's going to be watching for in this Iran deal is how much supply is allowed to come on and how fast. Iran is sitting on about 100 million barrels of oil in storage tanks on land and in oil tankers off its coast that it theoretically could deploy immediately. But what is more likely and what the oil market is expecting is some sort of half measure where the U.S. agrees to let them increase oil exports by a certain amount. And then if they can comply with all the JCPOA things and prove that they're acting in good faith, then unleashing more oil further into the future. And so if you have a scenario like that, then it won't be an overwhelming amount of supply coming on this summer, and you could still see prices rise.
Well, of course, we've got just over a week to run until the OPEC Plus meeting, and we know that the Saudis like to, I suppose, control the narrative in the week preceding. Do you think that they'll give us any hint on the accommodation for Iran barrels coming back, or is it just too soon? I mean, we're in a three-stage refloating of the oil market, so to speak, from OPEC Plus and the Saudi supply. Do you think it stays the course? Do you think we stay with the three-stage approach of delivery of barrels back to the market?
I think the Saudis are definitely going to push for that, Manus. If you look at the history of OPEC, it's one of people getting together when prices are really low and coming together strongly, and then as soon as prices start to rise, the bonds start to fray. Saudi Arabia has done a great job so far of managing to keep people in line, and that's been the reason that prices have maintained this sort of level in the $60 range this year. So I don't think there's any reason that Saudi Arabia will change that. And yeah, I think that the other members, even though they're itching to unleash their full supplies, especially a country like the UAE, they have to be looking at the market and realizing that it's very tenuous and they need to hold the course right now.